The name Belger in these parts has long signified cranes and heavy hauling. In fact, Belger Cartage does some of the heaviest lifting around.
But because the owner, Dick Belger, is also an art collector, he started the Belger Art Center at the Crossroads in 2000. And last year, he and his wife, Evelyn, opened this amazing four-building complex at 2011 Tracy called Belger Crane Yard Studios.
It's home to art and artists in various mediums. In fact, there's a lithography studio up on the third floor. Right now, an exhibition of metalwork is on display through January 24th.
Now, David Polivka may never have had a show here, but the furniture he makes is owned by some of the folks who have.
David's been pursuing his vision of beauty, old-time woodworking techniques, and sustainability for over 30 years. Producer Ashley Holcroft shows us just how that looks.
We're in RNS. That's no robots and no slaves. It's kind of a foundation for us because we believe that when something is handmade, there's intrinsic value there because the human experience is really defined by all of that. Our heritage is built on that.
Master furniture maker David Polivka has been honoring that creative heritage here at his shop in the River Key for decades. But if things had gone as originally planned, he would be building watercolor landscapes instead of perfectly mitered tables.
I went to the Kansas City Art Institute for one semester, and I got married at 19. And I had to get a job, and I got a woodworking job. As I got in a shop that had people who were real craftspeople and who had gone through the guilds and things like that, I realized that I had an opportunity that I had to take advantage of. It showed me everything. It made me the person that I am, really, in a certain sense. We try to stay away from design trends, all of the trends. We want to make our own trend. We use all local materials, or almost, pretty much, unless it's something I've saved over the years or something like that, because I've been at this so long. We do a lot of reclaimed materials, but we try not to use rainforest woods if we can help it. The fact that it can last forever, if it's taken care of, is a big deal. Also, my furniture increases in value instantly, especially when there's nobody around to really make it anymore.
Polivka's thoughtful designs and exquisite follow-through are cherished staples in homes across the country.
I wanted to do the bow tie.
But David's passion is not limited to creating beautiful pieces. The burden of stewardship for the materials he utilizes has made him a man on a mission.
The fact that I've lived through, certain woods becoming extinct, basically. The trees that take 1,000 years or 900 years or a long, long, long time to grow, continually cut down for agricultural use and to clear cut. I want to talk about it. I want to bring it to people's attention that we're losing this.
David shares equal concern that the kind of mentors and the system in which he learned his skills will be far less available to the next generation.
We're losing the craftspeople. They're all dying. There almost aren't any good wood shops now in colleges. Even when you go to RISD and places like that, and the young kids don't know who to go to, where do I get mentorship? Where do I learn how to utilize the forest, to utilize the tooling and all that stuff that it took to make things?
David has been passing on these handcrafted ways to countless interns throughout the years. In 2011, Matt Castilleja, who is now Polivka's protege, arrived with a background in architecture and metalwork, and a problem he hoped the shop could help him solve.
Well, there was just a separation between design and making. It looks great on paper, but when you get to making it, it's a totally different story. Making sure the proportions are right, everything looks different in real life when you're actually making a physical object. So just that disconnect I wasn't happy with, and I knew that I couldn't become the craftsman or the maker and designer that I wanted to be. So knocked on the door here at Polivka and asked for an internship. You can't learn it over the internet. You can't learn it from magazines. It has to be taught by somebody who is, again, taught by somebody else. Can't even begin to just explain how awesome this is to work here.
The tips of this together, just gently pull it together so it'll hold. Maybe hundreds of thousands of miles of miters were done this way in the 50s. This is a calm thing to do.
We get along really well. We're kind of kindred spirits. We love this same old music, Django Reinhardt and a lot of old jazz. And we just work together really well in our process, the way we started the project, doing countless sketches. So we just flow really well.
Really, my whole goal has been to do the highest quality we can do. My intent is to get my work out as many places as I can, because I hardly ever get anybody who isn't happy having a piece of my stuff. So when I'm a happy maker, I like to do that.
I view our pieces as future antiques, pieces that your grandchildren will fight over, is the whole thing.